In a world dominated by beige, Acer comes out with teal? That's pretty funky for 1995. I'm dying to know what else is going on inside this thing, so it's time to tear it apart and find out what. And I'm only going to have time for one system this week, and if everything comes together, I'll explain why at the end of the video. But for now, let's tear into this thing. Yeah, this thing definitely has quite a look to it. This is our power button. Got our CD-ROM down here, and a floppy drive. Super important. And here's our CPU evidence. A fairly well-preserved Intel Pentium sticker. The top side of the machine has these dimples here, which I can only assume are for locating the monitor. I sure wish I had the monitor, but I do not. But I do have the original keyboard and mouse. The folks at Franklin eWaste were kind enough to send this to me. However, as you can see, there is no escape. I do have the escape key here, so we're going to have to see what we can do about reattaching it. And here we are at the back of the machine. We can see all the ports are helpfully labeled. There's no onboard sound, so this thing must have had a sound card at some point. Here's a close look at that label. So we have a manufacture date there. I'm not exactly sure of the format of that date code, but I could certainly say it's from 1995. Model 575LB. And looks like 2 screws get us in, so let's go ahead and get this thing open. Ah yeah, look at that ventilation hole pattern. It just doesn't get any more 90s than that. Okay, now it appears this cover just slides back, so let's see. There we go. I think. There. Just like that. And yep, there's definitely evidence of sound card exfiltration. This is the CD audio cable that would have run to it. But we do have a socket 5 CPU, 2 72-pin SIM modules, we've got Cirrus Logic Video, and ALI chipsets. That's no surprise because ALI is Acer. That stands for Acer Labs Incorporated. And luckily we do have a hard drive, a Quantum Trailblazer. Looks like maybe 800 megabytes or so. We also have an errant screw down there. Let's get that out. Well, let's take a look at that CPU, why not? The fan seems decent, not too noisy. And as expected, classic Intel Pentium 1. Let's get that out of there. Looking good on all the pins. No issues at all. Let's put that to the side. Okay, how about that RAM? Wow, these are some super inconvenient clips, but at least they're all metal. This is possibly a 4 megabyte stick. Certainly been dust blasted all its life. Yeah, could be 4 megs. Let's check out the other one. And that's an identical stick, though a lot cleaner. Now, disassembly of the rest of the system looks like it requires removal of this bracket here, which means I probably have to take loose this riser as well, because it's held on with 2 screws that thread into the bracket. So let's get those out. Okay, now let's see how this goes. There we go. Wasn't too bad. Now we can get that riser out of there. That is one fierce connector. That thing took some pulling force to get out. At least it's fairly clean. And the system has a Dallas RTC. Just in case you're unfamiliar with these modules actually contain an internal battery, and after almost 30 years, that battery is certainly dead. So we have a date code of 95 on there. However, the dead battery problem is pretty easy to solve, but we do have to remove the module from the motherboard, and sometimes they're soldered on, but luckily this one is socketed, so we can just pull that off. Yeah, I just love it when they're socketed. So much easier. Now let's get these drives disconnected. And luckily that power supply appears to be a regular old AT power supply. Sometimes these funky computers have non-standard power supplies, so that's very nice to see. Let's get that disconnected. Now, drive removal looks like it requires faceplate removal, and it looks like that faceplate's just held on with clips, so let's see how that goes. Alright, that was successful. No breakage whatsoever. Gotta love that. And the floppy drive is made by Panasonic, and luckily it's nothing special. Sometimes systems with these unique faceplates can have custom floppy drives. Between this and the power supply, I'd say Acer was doing it right. Yeah, the only thing special about this drive is that door and that button, and those can easily be swapped over to another drive of the same model. Let's go ahead and get that floppy drive out of there. That floppy drive is held in with 4 screws in the usual spots, and I got those out, so... Looks like hard drive removal is especially simple. Looks like we just need to pull up on it. Yep. Well, that's pretty simple. Now let's check out that CD-ROM drive. I've got all those screws out. Now this I'm especially intrigued by. They've just defaced a regular old Panasonic CD-ROM drive. Interestingly enough, there's no access to that headphone jack or volume control through the system's faceplate. And here's the label on that drive. Manufactured November 1995. Let's wipe that off. Now let's get that floppy drive cleaned up. Luckily it's not too bad in there. Let's just sweep that thing out. Now let's clean the heads. Good enough. Now let's refresh this grease. Good enough. Now let's check that disc mechanism. Feels perfectly fine. Okay, I have no reason to believe this power supply is going to explode, nor do I particularly care if it does because it's just a generic AT power supply. Got plenty of those around. That being said, let's see what it does. Okay, we're a little high, but not too terribly high. Let's just let that thing suffer for a minute. Alright, we've been click-clacking for 5 minutes now. Nothing's exploding. No trouble out of that power supply. And now there's just a little matter of what to do about our dead RTC. I don't even have to test it in order to tell you it's dead. But the fix for that is actually pretty simple. We have to attach a good battery outside of it to override the dead battery inside of it. I've done this before on the channel, but that was a while ago. So I'm going to go over it again for people who may not have seen it. All we have to do is find pins 16 and 20. This dot here indicates pin 1. So then all you have to do is count from there. 12 pins this way. Then you jump over here, to the other side of the chip. Pin 16 ends up being this missing pin here. And pin 20 ends up being the missing pin right next to this pin. Now all you have to do is take your favorite drill and drill into the area directly above the missing pins. You don't have to go far, just drill until you hit metal. And there we go, now we can see the terminal above pin 16, and that's the negative terminal of the battery. Now I'll just do the same thing for pin 20. Now all that's left to do is connect a generic CR2032 battery holder, just solder the wires to their respective terminals, then hot glue everything together, and you're done. Alright, let's give this CPU cooler some attention. That fan seems okay, but let's see what it sounds like when it's actually running. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. The bearing's fairly quiet. Yeah, no real need to dive into that one. However, we do need to give it a good cleaning. Paintbrush works great for sweeping these out. Now let's clamp that thing down. Okay, we are ready to test. Power on. Alright, we're posting. And we do have 8 megs of RAM. Hard drive sounds like it's struggling a little. Equipment configuration error. That's no surprise with the RTC having been dead. Let's see if we can continue. Alright, we are booting. Windows 95 with the original Acer image. And we are in. Now, this thing's loading a lot of crap. Uh-oh, we got registry problems. Should we risk restoring from backup? Okay, apparently I'm not going to have the chance to do that anyway. We appear to be frozen. I think the hard drive just gave up the ghost. Come on, don't be a cliche quantum drive. Oh, I think it's recovering. Maybe. What in the world? Okay, I don't even know why this popped up. Go away. Okay, whatever. I guess that's whatever that slideshow thing is. Okay, let's see if we can just ignore this registry problem for now. Maybe not. Let's just stick that over there. Way over there. Alright, let's see what's on this thing. Blockbuster Video. Come on. Let's see if this is actually a program or just some kind of web link. Needs a CD-ROM. Okay, that's not happening. What else do we have? What is Humongous? Humongous Interactive Catalog. Okay. What about Custom Entertainment Pack? Looks like maybe a stripped-down version of Windows Entertainment Pack. What is City Streets? Is this really like a precursor to Google Maps? Probably needs a CD. Oh no, it's actually going to run. Interesting. I wonder how out of date this is. We're looking at New York for some reason. I don't even know how to operate this program. Zoom out. Okay, well, I'm not seeing much. Maybe change to all streets. It will take a long time to draw this map. That's okay. We have time. Wow, they weren't kidding. Let's try to zoom in on that. I love the zoom options you get. It's either outer space or in the airplane. Well, I don't think Google Maps has too much to worry about with competition for this program. Let's get out of here. Oops, I accidentally edited New York. Sorry about that, people. Oh, let's see what else we have. Quicken Financial Suite. Well, I guess this hard drive's getting wiped, assuming it survives. Speaking of which, let's see what kind of documents we have on here. Well, at least it doesn't look like anything too sensitive. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's go look at the root of that drive. Let's see our free space situation. Jeez, that thing's about full. A whopping 800 megabytes. Let's see what's on that thing. Oh, we are chug-a-luggin'. Oh, come on. Aha, what do we have in games? Descent. This might have come with the computer. Seems like Descent's on a lot of OEM systems. Well, let's see if it runs. Or it tries to run. Okay. Yes, I choose to continue. That thing is just tearing it all down. It really just rebooted to play Descent? Guess that's one way to clear out the memory. Interesting. Okay, well, we're not getting far. Possibly for a number of reasons. Well, let's get back up to Windows. And we have our first signs of hard drive death. Let's see if we can just ignore that for now. Okay, maybe we got past that. Still complaining about the registry problem. Let's just go ahead and continue ignoring that. Twice this time. That thing's really adamant about that. Okay, I don't think I'm getting past this that easily now. Okay, I'll humor you. Let's see how corrupted the backup is. Yes. Well, I think restoring the registry might have actually done something. I would have never guessed. Okay, I got the faceplate on for full visual effect. Let's see if that floppy drive works. And it sure does. I just realized that there's no provision for the floppy drive LED. It looks like it was borrowing the hard drive LED. Let me try to make some disk activity and see if that lights up again. Let's just delete this stupid system volume information folder. Yeah, I'd say it does. Interesting. Okay, how about the CD drive? Hey, it opens right up. And it does indeed work. Looks like we're auto running. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel this. Okay, well, let's drop down to DOS mode and check out that hard drive then. Okay, well, at least no file system errors. Let's see what we get during surface scan. You know, I'm actually surprised. I thought this hard drive would have all kinds of bad sectors. And so far it hasn't even struggled. I could have sworn that thing was making some concerning sounds earlier. And yeah, we're good. How about that? Now let's see what can be done about this keyboard. Unfortunately, it's the switch stem itself that's actually broken, so it's not going to be as simple as putting the keycap back on. So I'm thinking I can move that switch stem to a seldom used key. I'm looking at Use scroll lock. That way, whatever hackulation I use to fix that broken switch stem will have less of a chance of being a problem for a user. But before we can do any of that, we have to get this thing apart and cleaned. Okay, all those screws are out, so... Okay, well that's interesting. Whole thing just comes out as a single unit. Well then, let's get this apart. Alright, got those screws out. We're getting closer. There we are. And here's the key stem for our escapist escape key. Looks like it's actually broken in half. It's in two separate pieces in there. And the rest of them are definitely one piece. And it looks like these push from the bottom up, so that might be how we get these out of here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely broken in two. Now let's go ahead and exfiltrate the scroll lock key. Okay, so these key stems attach to the caps with an interference fit, which is clearly why this one let go. So all I need to do is to get that to be one piece again, and then maybe use some mild adhesive to get it to stick back to the keycap. It's made of some kind of Delrin or something, so I don't think super glue is going to do it. Alright, let's get the rest of these keys out of here. Now I'm just going to let these soak in soapy warm water for a while, with some gentle agitation every once in a while. As for the stabilizer bars, I'm just going to wipe them off with IPA. Don't want to risk any corrosion on these. As for the rest of these components, it's time for a bath. There, that's better. Now, about that broken key stem, the only thing I have to hold the two halves together are the keyboard itself. Super glue is especially useless on this type of plastic, even more useless than usual. So I've got the stem propped up as high as it'll go, and for securing the keycap, I'm going to use some automotive RTV. RTV is basically silicone, and it has become my favorite mild adhesive for two reasons. The first one being it sticks to nearly anything, and the second one being it's really easy to remove if you want to get rid of it. Just use a little bit more force than usual, and it peels off of most surfaces just fine. So this repair will at least be reversible if I should ever find an intact key stem. Let's go ahead and get that keycap attached. Let's get some RTV inside the keycap. Now I'll go ahead and stick it on there. Now I'll give that a few hours to cure. A few hours later... Yeah, that's working! Okay, I got this thing back together. Now I'm going to do what I should have done prior to performing all this work. Actually test it. Well, it seems to work. According to my highly unscientific testing, I'd say this keyboard's good. Even the scroll lock key works. Okay, now let's take care of that mouse. I don't think it needs any repairs, it just needs some cleaning up. Starting, of course, with the ball. Well, those rollers aren't too bad. And actually, based on the wear, I don't think this thing was very heavily used. You would normally see excessive wear on the palm rest and the button. But this one looks good. Okay, I've got that thing apart. Let's clean those rollers. There, that's better. I might as well hit these other ones even though they don't have any buildup. And the rest of it just needed a quick wipe down. It does have some scuffs here and there, but what are you gonna do? Well, let's test it out. Alright, seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. Totally normal ball mousey behavior. Alright, let's shut this thing down. It is now safe to turn off your computer. Classic. Okay, let's get this top cover cleaned up. I'm not expecting a miracle because this thing is pretty scuffy, but we can at least remove the dirt. Well, that's as good as this thing's getting. All of these remaining marks are actually just plastic damage. Well, there's not much we can do about that. At least for the most part, that would all be underneath the monitor. I would definitely feel worse about it if the faceplate wasn't in such good condition, which it certainly is. Yeah, this system is definitely one that other systems should aspire to. This thing is rock solid, and not a single thing wrong with it except for a totally forgivable dead RTC. All this thing needs now is to be matched up with its original monitor, and this thing will definitely be a time capsule. Now, as for why this video was so short and late, there's two reasons for that. The first one being I attended my first VCF Midwest event, which was absolutely mind-bogglingly awesome. I could not believe the scale of this event, and the turnout was massive as well. It is extremely heartening to see so many people interested in this hobby. You know, you see the numbers online, but seeing it in person really drives it home. Yeah, there was just so much cool stuff to see and interact with here. I could have definitely filled an entire video with it, but unfortunately I didn't get a whole lot of footage. I was just too eager to jump in and play with everything. But this definitely will not be my last VCF Midwest event. And remember when I said I couldn't buy anything? Well, I found a loophole. It's called the free pile. So technically I didn't buy this. I found this extremely distressed TI Travelmate 4000M. It's only in 5 separate pieces, but I just could not leave it alone. So I found all the pieces I could, and it's about to be the greatest challenge to my plastic repair skills ever. And I'll of course be making a video on that, no matter how well it goes, because these things are very broken. But it is a laptop with a 486DX4 in it, as well as an active matrix color display, as well as a real OPL chip. Yeah, there was no way I was leaving this thing down. Okay, I lied. I did actually buy something else with actual money, and that would be this Toshiba Satellite T1960 CT. Yet another 486 laptop, and now you're seeing I have a bit of a self-control problem when it comes to 486 laptops. But come on, it was only 40 bucks. However, the seller says it does not work. I haven't tried testing it myself yet. We'll save that excitement for the video that this thing appears in. But it did come with a trackball pointing device. This actually attaches to the side of the laptop here. That is clever. I just absolutely love 90s laptops and their weird pointing devices. Then directly after VCF Midwest, I headed back to Franklin E-Waste to pick up a second e-waste haul. While I'm still not even halfway through the first haul, you have to jump on these things whenever they pop up. This haul is about a quarter of the size of the first one, but that's still 50 systems. This time we have a couple of CRTs, one of which is a Dell branded Trinitron. There are definitely some gems in this haul, and just like before, I rented a truck and hauled it all home. Luckily this time it all fit in a cargo van, which is far more comfortable to drive compared to a box truck. This van even has cruise control. Imagine that. It was speed limited to 76 miles per hour, so just forget about passing people. Luckily the weather was nice for the entire drive. This one definitely went a lot more smoothly than the first one, though it did get pretty hot out while I was unloading them. And we are replenished. There's even more giant full-size towers in this haul, as well as baby ATs. Those should be tons of fun to explore. And we finally have some Macs, including this beautiful beige Power Mac G3. Yeah, I can finally make some Mac videos. Well, looks like our future content is secure, at least for now. And here's a pro tip. Don't unload 50 computers in 90-degree weather. It's not fun. But what is going to be fun is tearing into all of these systems, especially this one here. It looks very interesting, especially with that 5¼ inch hard drive there. So if you don't want to miss any of those teardowns, just be sure to subscribe. And I'd like to give my huge thanks to my supporters on Patreon, without which this madness would definitely not be possible, for sure. Well, I better go find some air conditioning and make a plan for tearing into these things. Thanks for watching.